All right, guys. We're gonna go through this coursework, the uh, component two learning MA. The coursework is due in next Friday, actually tomorrow. So we're gonna take this last opportunity to discuss uh, the the question. Uh, so this is what component two is about. The learning MA is to investigate the role and impact of using data on individuals and organizations and to to achieve your required grade. This is what you meant to cover in order to achieve the required grade. All right. And let me make sure everything is showing here correctly as it should. It should. Yeah, I don't save this bit here. Let me go back. What's happening there? All right. So if I put it in the slideshow, it doesn't even fit to see in your screen. So I'm not going to put it in the slideshow because I've just noticed that when I put it on the slideshow, you do not see it on your screen. So anyway, this is what we're going to discuss here. When answering the questions, you need to look out for these keywords. Yeah, identify, define, describe, explain, and discuss. You will come across these keywords. I've given you the meaning, the definition for these keywords. You should focus on the definitions and answer the questions accordingly. Okay. So this is the scenario that you've been given for this assignment. The scenario is the government needs to collect data to guide them to assess the relationship of the number of people using the public transport and the amount of people being infected by the COVID-19. Okay. The second scenario is, did the disruption caused by the impact of COVID-19, usual examinations could not go ahead. Universities, therefore, need to collect data about their potential students to help them decide on whom to offer places on their courses. And you have to consider the following data collection methods: observation, interview, questionnaire, online form, survey, barcode scanning, and scanner. You should always consider these features of data collection method. Sample size, age of sample, the demographic, and then who in the sample. Yeah, you're going to consider this data collection method and the features of the data collection to answer the question. And the first question you are asked to answer is you have to identify the data collection method across two sectors. So looking back to the keywords that we looked at earlier, here the keyword here is to identify. Identify, you don't have to do much to identify. Yeah? Identify data collection method across two sectors. We've already looked at the different data collection methods. Here we have the survey, interview, observation, website forms, barcode scanning, and census. Which of these do you think the government sector will find it appropriate to use to collect information? Which of these would the university find appropriate to use to collect information? That's it. The government sector may find appropriate to use maybe survey because, yeah, why do you think they find appropriate to use survey to collect that kind of information? Why do you think the universities will find appropriate to use interview to get information about their potential students? Okay, why is it appropriate? So, you think they will find it much easier? The government will find it much easier to use the survey? Or do you think they'll find it too difficult to go and interview people? Yeah. So you choose which one is appropriate. The next question is to identify data that is used to make decisions across two different sectors. This time you are going to identify the data. So the previous question was requiring you to identify the data collection method. But this time you are to identify the data that the government will need to collect in order to inform them their decision. Yeah. In this case, the government will need to collect the cause of death of people and the number of commuters. Okay? That is the data the government needs to collect. And the universities, what data are they going to collect from their potential students? They need to collect the progress of the students, the test scores, the attendance. So all these things, university needs to collect about the students in order to help them inform their decision. Okay, so these are the two sets of data that you will need to answer these two questions. So the next question here, you're going to describe. So now you're moving on from identify to describe. Describe something means you need to highlight the features, the characteristics. So you're going to describe data collection method across two sectors. So previously you only identified the data collection method But this time, you're going to describe the data collection method. So, if you chose survey for the government, you're going to describe the survey. Yeah? Is it survey, the data going to be collected by using the survey coming from primary source or the secondary source? Yeah? When you use a survey, you normally get the data from primary source or secondary source. If the data is from primary source, you will know that normally the primary source data, the first-hand data from the researcher. Okay. Also, it's a real-time data. Okay. It's normally up to date. And then, if it's the normally primary source data, will be obtained by survey, observation, experiment, questionnaire, and then personal interview. Okay. Primary source data can be expensive because you are more involved. The researcher is more involved. It can take time. And, however, it tends to get the exact data you require. Yeah, you get the specific data you require, and it can be much more reliable. On the other hand, if the data you're collecting is coming from secondary source, okay? Secondary source data is normally collected by somebody else. It could be past data and therefore might not be that reliable. And you normally get these from government publication, website, books, journal articles, internal records, etc. And it can be very economical because you don't spend too much time to get this information. And it may not be specific to your need. Yeah. And the reliability of this data can be relatively less. Yeah. So you're going to use this to describe the data collection method. Okay. So that is what you're going to need to answer this question. The next question is, again, you're going to describe data that is used to make decisions across two sectors. Again, now you are describing, before you are describing the method, now you're going to describe the data. Describe the data that is used to make the decision across two sectors. So let's look at the first sector, the government. The government is collecting the data about the cause of death of individuals and the number of commuters. How are these sets of data relate to each other? Okay, how are these sets of data will relate to each other? That's what you need to identify. You need to use that to describe this data. Yeah, how are these two data, these two information relate to one another? Then the next one, if you look at the university, the information that university might require is the student progress, the student attendance, and the student scores, the test scores. How would this relate to each other in order to help the university to inform their decision? Yeah, this is how you're going to describe the two sets of data, how these two sets, how this set of information relate will guide the university to inform their decision. How would this set of data help the government to inform their decision? The next one is explain. So now we're moving ahead from describing to explain. Okay? Explain how data collection methods and their features affect the quality of data across two sectors with relevant examples. So you need to identify the features of data collection, the method, and how those features can affect the quality of the data with examples. So now let's look at the features of data collection method. The features are the source, where the information is coming from. Is it primary or secondary? Then accuracy, how accurate that information is. Usually, if we collect information using electronic means, it will be more accurate than collecting the information personally. And the age of the information, how current the information is. If the government want to know how the relationship between the number of people using the public transport and the number of people being affected by the COVID-19, of course, they will need those the current numbers. There's no point going to find the commuter numbers 4 years ago. You need the current numbers. So the age of the data is very important. Then the completeness. You should be able to get all the information you need. All information must be provided to make the accurate decision. Okay? And the amount of data, you have to get appropriate details may be needed. The amount of data. Then how that data is going to be presented. Okay. What are you going to use, chart or graph? All this can make it easier for people to understand what you're trying to portray. And the volume of the information, the volume of the information. You cannot present so much information on a slide and you expect people to understand it. You've got to have the right balance. So these are the features that will guide, that will influence the quality of the data. These features influence the quality of the data. All right. So some examples would be like whenever we watching since the lockdown, anytime I'm watching the update on about the coronavirus, usually some models are presented on the screen, and because of this, the way the models are presented, everybody is able to understand it. They use the right graph, they use the right amount of information. It is much easier to consume that information. Right. So in this case, you can you can copy or you can make your own example here. Okay? You can highlight how the COVID-19 presentation is presented during the day. So the next question here, explain how data is used to make decisions across two sectors. With example, explain how data is used. How is the data used? So the government has got the data. How are they going to use it? Yeah. In order to use this data, they need to use what is called data model. So what is data model? It's taking set of knowns to help us make prediction for the future. Data model is a way of showing relationships between set of data and investigating the possible outcomes of change. A way of showing relationships between set of data and investigating the possible outcomes of change. For example, there is a relationship between spending and saving. If you spend more, you save less. Yeah. So how is the government going to use this sort of data here? The cost of death and the number of commuters. Yeah. To do that, they need to create what is called data model. And this model will show the number of people being infected by the coronavirus and the number of people using the public transport on each day. Yeah, on each day, and that would guide the government to see the trend. Yeah, and that will also guide the government to, if nothing changes, then the government, from that information, the government will know how many people will be dead in 2 months' time. That's if nothing changes. Yeah. So if the government needs to reduce the number of people being infected by the disease, then they need to reduce the number of people using the public transport, because the data will show that there's a relationship between this. The same way, if the university see the attendance of certain students and look at their scores, it will show that there is a relationship there. Yeah. So using the data model is the way of using the data to help inform decision across different sectors. All right. So this is what you need to answer these questions. The next question is, you're going to discuss data collection methods and features used and how they affect quality of data and making decisions into sectors, drawing justified conclusions. Here, this point, because of a discussion here, you are going to touch on a lot of topics. Yeah, you're going to touch on a lot of topic here. You're going to look at how you can improve the data collection, how data collection can be improved. Yeah, you're going to look at how can the process of the collecting data in an organized in organization be improved? You're going to look at the kind of people that you need to articulate the information. You pick the right people. You have to train the right people to articulate the information. Why is that? You select appropriate method for the collection. Okay? You choose the correct data source, either primary or secondary. You provide confidentiality to the respondent. You keep questions short and to the point, and then you try your method first. So you touch on this in your discussion. Yeah. So this will guide you to answer this question as well. And the final slide here, then assessment. Assess data collection methods and features used and how they affect the quality of data and decision making in two sectors, drawing detailed justified conclusion. Okay. So this assessment, in your assessment, you have to mention how the collection of personal data might affect the privacy of the customer. Yeah. We know that all individuals who have data stored about them will face some threat. You need to explain what some of these threats may be for customers who have information stored about them. Yeah. You need to, by whatever company is collecting that information. Okay. This usually happens if the data has been hacked or lost or incorrectly distributed to wrong groups. Okay. And then you need to highlight identity theft, reminding people of the dangers of ID theft and the precautions they need to take. And then you need to research the requirements for the current data protection laws and outline these requirements, reminding individuals and organizations. So this is it. So this is all you need to answer these questions. Go through this PowerPoint and do your best. And if you have any further questions, send me an email and we take it from there. All right. Take care, guys, and stay safe.